What is holotropic breathwork, and how does my breathwork differ, or how is it similar? That's the topic of today's video. Please subscribe, like, follow, comment. I want to hear your comments on the video. Have you done holotropic breathwork and my breathwork? What's the differences for you? What do you like? What don't you like? I'd love to hear all your feedback in the comments. It helps me, it helps the channel, and I like to read the comments. Okay, so let's dive into it. Holotropic breathwork was created in the 70s by a guy named Stan Grof and his wife Christina Grof. They were therapists, or psychotherapists rather, and they used to use LSD to treat their patients, and then LSD became illegal. So they had to find some other way, or they wanted to find some other way to kind of create altered states, because they felt like through these altered states, all the stuff would come up, the traumas and the different things would come up, and it would help them process the traumas, process all their stuff. So because they could no longer use LSD, they discovered or created holotropic breathwork. Personally, I think all these practices have been around for thousands of years, and they come from India. You know, Wim Hof breathwork is really popular right now, but Wim Hof didn't create that breathwork. He just uses it. It's tumo breathing. You know, it's been around for thousands of years with the Tibetan monks, tumo breathing. Wim Hof didn't create that, but I love it because he brought more attention to breathwork. Anyways, back to holotropic breathing. We'll do another video on Wim Hof. How is holotropic done? So it's done in groups. There's a facilitator who's had 600 hours. It takes 600 hours of training to be a holotropic facilitator. I personally think that's way too much. My students, if they do it in person with me, it's a 4-day training. I get everything in there in that 4 days, and my students leave super confident. I don't think you need 600 hours. That's just my personal take. That's my experience over the last 10 years. I've trained, you know, thousands of students, and they're out there doing breathwork successfully from my 4-day trainings or my online trainings. Anyways, so holotropic facilitators, 600-hour training. What they do though is they pair everybody up in this workshop. So you have a partner, and one of you breathes first, and you breathe for 2 to 3 hours. My class, you breathe for about 28, 29 minutes. And I think it's just as effective as the 2 to 3 hours. I think 2 to 3 hours is way too much, way too intense. You don't need all that. So you breathe, you sit there and you breathe for 2 to 3 hours, and then after you're done breathing, your partner is just sitting with you, just kind of holding space, not doing anything at all, really. After that, you do mandalas. And then after you do your mandala, you switch. Your partner breathes for 2 to 3 hours, and then they do a mandala. So it's an all-day workshop, which, I don't know, ain't nobody got time for that. I think it's totally unrealistic in today's day and age, where you're gonna be taking an 8-hour workshop for breathwork and mandalas. My whole class is about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. I basically kind of modernized breathwork in that way. One of the other major differences is in holotropic, they use music that doesn't have any words, any lyrics or anything like that. I like the music with words. I like the music with lyrics. I think it actually helps crack people open. I think a lot of people are really closed off from their emotions, or they're holding them in. And certain songs I love, like Landslide from Fleetwood Mac. My joke is that nobody makes it through Landslide without crying. It cracks people open. It helps people to release. And once you start, I believe, once you start that initial release and you crack people open, they start crying, then that allows them to access other things that have been stuck in there. So you're kind of opening the dam. That's what I've seen over the last decade. So that's another way that I differ. I use songs with music. One of the major differences, if not the most biggest difference in my breathwork technique and holotropic breathwork technique, holotropic is in and out, one breath in and out, kind of fast. It looks like this. In my technique, it's 2 breaths in, 1 breath out. So it looks like this. Now first, before I dive into that, make sure you're not doing this technique driving in a car or in a bathtub, anywhere near water. You don't want to do it anywhere near water. So let me get clear on that. And you really need some instruction before you do it. So either come to my class on Sunday on Zoom, or go to somebody else's class and get the instruction first. So what's the difference between this 1 breath in and out, and then 2 breaths in, 1 breath out? So There is a thing that happens when you push the exhale. It causes tetany a lot more. And in holotropic, when you go really fast and you're pushing that exhale a little bit, you get way more tweaked out. You get way more tetany. In my technique, where you kind of inhale, inhale, and then just let it fall out, less tetany. So I've seen that in just 28, 29, 30 minutes of breathing, relaxing the exhale, you get less tetany, less problems, and just as big as results as you would in 2 to 3 hours of holotropic breathing. So I basically modernized the technique. It's not the same as holotropic breathing. It's different than holotropic breathing. But the reason I'm doing this is because people ask me all the time, is your breathwork holotropic breathing? The answer is no, it's not holotropic breathing. It has some similarities in the results that can come up for people, like the big releases, the big emotional releases, the traumas that can come up and be released, and all that kind of different stuff. It has some of the same results, but it's not the same technique. Interesting enough, you know, a lot of the science out there on breathwork is from holotropic breathing because they've done so many studies over the years. So there's some great science out there from holotropic. So I'm grateful to them for that science. So thank you, holotropic breathing. And all the contraindications that come up, like high blood pressure and glaucoma and osteoporosis and all this stuff, they come from holotropic breathing. Now, I don't know if they necessarily apply to my technique as much, but because I live in America and it's a very litigious country, I use the same contraindications just to be safe. I've had everybody with those contraindications come to classes, but we have to be safe, and so those contraindications exist for a reason, and that's why I use them, to protect myself and my clients. And if you're unsure about any contraindication, if you have a contraindication, I always tell people they need to check with their doctor first. Anyways, holotropic breathwork, it's great, it's amazing. It's an old kind of outdated technique for me personally. I don't have 8 hours to go do breathwork. I have an hour to do it. Sometimes you can do this technique that I do in less than an hour. You can lay down and do 15 minutes of breathing, this circular breathing technique that I teach, and that will clear out all your stuff. That will be amazing, and it will totally reset you, and you go into your day feeling better. I used it for years at the beginning of my day. Every day I would start my day with this technique, and I would go into my day as a different person. And when you do that, you start showing up in the world differently. Why? I don't know why I wake up sometimes. I used to, not really anymore. I used to wake up and my head would just be telling me all this nonsense, all this noise, all this insecurity, all this worry, all this fear around everything going on in my life. And then I would lay down and I would breathe in this way for 15, 20 minutes, whatever. I used to trick my brain. I'd say 3 songs, John Paul. You can do anything for 3 songs. And I would do the 3 songs, which is about 12 minutes. And then I would usually keep going because it felt good. But sometimes I just do the 3 songs. And that would be enough to clear out all that noise in my head, all that BS in my head. And I would go into my day as a different person in the world. And people noticed right away that I was different from this breathwork. So try a breathwork practice, create a breathwork practice. I have some stuff that you can do, some courses online and different things like that you can check out, or you can do my online class and do the replay, all that kind of stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, follow, comment. I want to hear more from you. Thank you so much for watching.